Welcome to Percolating Change, a podcast where we brew better outcomes one sip at a time. Today, I'm speaking with Konje Chinkuni, a global strategist on the topic of visibility isn't vanity, it's evidence. Before I go further, Konje's name is also Koko, and during this session, I'm going to refer to Konje as Koko. Before we get into the chat, though, let me introduce Koko. Koko has had 15 years' experience in leading digital process and regulatory transformations across government, banking, education, and supply chain environments in both South Africa, New Zealand, and Australia. Koko helps organisations turn strategy into lived practice by blending structured change methods with human-centred insights. And Koko is also known for her work on visibility and leadership behaviour, especially the signals, rhythms, and practices that make governance, frameworks, and delivery stick in organisations. Welcome, Koko.
Thank you so much. And that was a lovely intro, Alicia. Glad to be here.
I'm glad to have you. Now, Koko, we like to ask our guests for one sentence to set the coffee table.
Right. That one sentence is visibility is not the soft and fluffy stuff. Visibility is actually evidence of what we stand for.
Fantastic. So who is this for and why now, Koko?
All right, this is basically a message targeted, I guess, to sponsors in leadership, change practitioners, and anyone interested in leadership going right and done right. I guess that would be a soft line to introduce as this is what it's meant for.
Exactly. So leadership, just to reiterate, the leadership team, leaders, sponsors, change practitioners, those who want to ensure that adoption is accepted.
Perfect. That sums it up.
Could you perhaps give me a short example to support why now question? So why are you pitching this now, that visibility is not the soft and fluffy stuff and it's not vanity?
Yes.
Give me a core insight, just one.
Okay, just one core insight is the fact that from my own example, I learned the slow way, let's call it, that the visibility part is really integral. And the three areas with regards to visibility. So we have the first pillar that I call them in pillars. The first pillar being being seen.
Mm-hmm.
We force leaders to say you need to be visible in order for the success of anything with this project, as in you could have the best frameworks, right? The best change plans, the best comms plans, the best training plans, but without visibility, you're dead in the water. So that's just, I once upon a time hid behind spreadsheets and frameworks and so forth. But with experience, I've learned that it's presence over polish. That's really what's key.
Do you have an example? Thank you for that, Koko. Do you have an example about your own experience then that you'd like to share?
Yes. In line with the second pillar, which is seeing others, I take it from my own personal experience in terms of my adoptive home, South Africa. A greeting is actually said as Sawubona, which is I see you. Literal translation is I see you.
I see you.
And that's just a very powerful state that I call in my own Zambian mother tongue is called Nakuwona. I see you. And I think that's the key thing before to ask anything from anyone is to acknowledge leaders, practitioners, likewise, need to acknowledge what change we're implementing and that we're not doing the change to them, we are doing the change with them after realizing and acknowledging what they are. So that's would be like a good example, examples
Yeah.
that come and has taught me through ways of, that one of the key pillars is seeing our stakeholders and being
Yes.
able to understand their pain points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that language that you just described there. So I see you.
Yeah.
You're acknowledging that this change. You're acknowledging where they currently are, and hopefully that this
Yes.
change is going to not necessarily fix 100%, but you use the word pain
Yes.
points, but certainly address some
Yes.
of those pain points. So that is a beautiful description. I see you, I acknowledge you, and to be honest, it's up there in the hierarchy of needs, isn't it? That acknowledgement. We all like to be
True.
acknowledged first before we
True.
can move on.
Yeah.
Is there 1 to 3 points you might like to suggest for any practitioner starting tomorrow on a project, given that you talked about pillar 1, acknowledgement? Is there any key points
Practical.
you would like to, practical steps? Yes, thank you for those words. Coco, you'd like to suggest for people
Right.
starting tomorrow?
Okay, I think these examples that I've given just show you and validate that the fact that we can have as many spreadsheets, we can have as many, you know, frameworks and decision logs and so forth. But at the end of the day, it starts with the human element of it. And I would say, for someone starting out, I think, again, I'll give an example where I, started off a project without a change plan. And this is me walking into a plant, which is where the change was taking place. It was a business process re-engineering project where lots of processes were to take place and were to be changed. So I started first with going out there to just have a 30-minute chat with the impacted stakeholders. So going into the plant, put on my PPE gear, steel cap boots, and go in there and talk to the people. Getting in there, I just found that there was a lot of, hey, we didn't expect that would have head office come over down here into the plant. And that struck a chord for me. And I then coordinated a first, instead of having a roadshow, to instead have leadership come into the plant, have a tour in the plant. And I think that was just a turnaround of the whole thing. By the time I was coming in to do my impact assessment, the door was open already.
Yes,
Just
all right.
because of that small action.
That small action of being visible,
Yes,
literally going into the plant, as you've said, and to be seen and to take note of what the current state is. Have a chat to the actual people who are impacted. So that's one of the things that you'd recommend. And as you just said as well to us, it leaned into opportunities for you then, because when you went in to gather further information, they were probably more forthcoming. They knew who you
true.
were. You'd
Yes,
established that early relationships. You've probably even
true.
identified who some of your subject matter experts could potentially be.
Immediately.
There
Yes.
you go. So no, I
Yes.
love that.
Yes.
I love that. I think that's probably
Yes.
covered a gamut of things that we can break down for someone starting tomorrow.
Yes. Yes. Yes.
So I think if there was one thing you could do differently, I think you've probably talked about that slightly, not hiding behind spreadsheets, but is there anything in particular that just one thing that you say to our users, there is me talking in user acceptance training language, our listeners and viewers, is there one thing that you would do differently? Or is there one thing that you
I,
would do differently other than, because I
I
think,
think it remains, yeah, I think it remains the fact of um, being present
yes,
versus being laser focused into delivery mode.
yes,
You know,
yes,
because I think most of the time, even our leaders, our sponsors, they want to be visible, they want to help, but they probably don't know how to do it because they are laser focused with delivery and
yeah,
achieving goals.
yes,
So I think it's to pull out just that presence, being present and understanding, listening and hearing what our people are going through
yes. Because
before we start, before we actually start operating on them, if I could call it that. If,
yeah,
mm,
no, I agree. I agree. Because what you've just said
mm,
makes sense. If we're so focused on the milestones and delivery
mm,
mode, to use your words,
mhm.
we're not taking time to reassess, to
Yeah.
evaluate, is this quite
Mm,
right? We're not then taking time to really listen, to
mm,
understand, because all of those
mm,
things are caught up when we are not are caught up in the um, uh, being too focused on delivery. And of course, we have to keep that front of mind. That's it. A
mhm,
project is a project because it doesn't have a
mhm,
forever state, it has a finite
mhm,
state. But I do love how you've expressed that, not being caught up too much in the delivery
mhm,
state, that it impacts your
mhm,
other cognitive thinking abilities and able to listening to
mhm,
what people are saying and actually
mhm.
evaluating the current state and looking to see what else might have changed to reassess your
Yeah.
plan. I do
Mhm.
love that. We're actually coming to the end of our
Yeah.
session. Just got one more question to ask because I'm just interested in, is there a challenge, do you think, from your perspective, that we need to watch, an emerging challenge perhaps, that we need to watch over the next 12 months?
Yes. I'd say, without ignoring the elephant in the room, of course, we've got AI that I feel is now a way in which we can choreograph and have AI as our co-pilot instead of resisting against it, both as leaders or change practitioners or an individual in general. So in the visibility world, I would say, it's an opportunity to, to choreograph together with AI in terms of hybrid visibility. Of course, past the pandemic, we know what that entails, but even going a step further with the help of AI.
Mm,
And yeah, this is the thing that's coming, and we just need to embrace it and
mm,
use it
mm,
because it cannot take over that human-centered element that is unique to us.
mm.
Um,
Not,
and
not,
that's
not yet,
basically,
not yet. But
yeah.
as
Well,
humans,
not yet.
not
Yes,
yet.
yes, yes.
And
Mm,
I, you're quite right. Co-creating using AI to help us
yeah,
focus on the things that we need to focus on better.
right.
You know, possibly on the communication side, engagement side, all of those things, all of those
Yes,
activities, and all of that,
yes,
where the main work is,
yes,
speaking with our stakeholders and making sure that their needs are met. Yeah, I like that you've called out that AI is something that we should be working with, using
yes,
to our advantage to
yes.
better, get return on investment. That's the overall end goal. So, yeah, thanks for that perspective. And I don't know if you've got a myth. Do you have a myth you'd like to bust before we wrap up?
I guess I would say upfront, visibility, just like change management in the past, has been looked upon as it's the softer, pink and soft, fluffy stuff. It's not really integral, but I
Mm,
believe it is the glue that holds all our frameworks, all our change plans, our comms plans, our training plans, our delivery of that change, ensuring adoption, and the business gets its return on investment. The glue that holds all that together is, from a change perspective, is leadership visibility.
Yeah. And you'd like to make sure that we definitely bust that. You're right, because, as change managers, I see ourselves as in the leadership role, but we are facilitating and working with leaders within the organisation to deliver on that change. So yeah, it's a key myth to bust, that it doesn't matter, you don't need to be seen as long as you produce those artifacts. And
yes.
but at the end of the day, people have got to consume what we have in those artifacts and deliver on it. So this has been really insightful. Thank you so much for joining me today on Percolating Change. And before I let you go, where can people get hold of you? I know that you're located in Perth, and it's which is it's nice and warm in Perth over there. So yes, that's where you are. But where can people get hold of you otherwise if they want to engage?
Yeah. Okay. I can be. I got held of on LinkedIn.
Yes.
And that's Konje Koko Chinkuni on LinkedIn. And there to connect with anyone that's interested in seeing leadership excel, and the change practitioners, change leaders, just to have those conversations and help each other grow.
I love that.
Yeah,
I love that.
That's where I can be found. Yeah.
Thank you so much for that. So LinkedIn, everybody, and thank you for joining us on today's Percolating Change, where we brew better outcomes one step at a time. If you have liked this episode, please like and subscribe, and look out for additional short episodes coming up soon. Thank you very much.